Welcome back. In this video, we are going to set up our development environment by installing Visual Studio and creating our very first C# project. Before we begin, let's quickly talk about why we need an IDE for programming. An IDE, or Integrated Development Environment, is a tool that helps us write, test, and run our code more easily. The best IDE for C# is Microsoft Visual Studio because it provides code suggestions to speed up writing code. And it has built-in debugging tools to fix errors quickly. And it has seamless integration with .NET and C#. And also, for individuals, any developer can use Visual Studio Community to create their own free or paid application. However, for organizations, there are certain limitations on when the Community Edition can be used. Larger businesses may need to use the Professional or Enterprise editions instead. Now let's go ahead and install Visual Studio. To install Visual Studio, follow these simple steps. First, go to the official website, visualstudio.microsoft.com. Then download the Visual Studio Community Edition. That's the free version that you can use for practicing your development tools and stuff. And then run the installer. You click install and wait for the process to complete. It's a very straightforward one. After the installer starts, you will see a list of workloads. Workloads are like a pre-configured toolset for different types of development. For this course, you just need to choose the .NET Desktop Development. It's required for building C# console and Windows applications. If you have enough storage and plan to explore later, there are some optional items like ASP.NET and Web Development that they are for creating web apps with C#, or mobile development with .NET for building Android and iOS apps using .NET MAUI, or game development with Unity if you are interested in using C# for game development. If you have limited space, just install the required workloads for now, and you can always add more later. The installation may take a few minutes depending on your internet speed and PC performance. Once the installation is done, we are ready to create our first C# project. If you have any question or run into any problems during the installation, just drop a comment on this video and I'll be happy to help. Now that we have Visual Studio installed, let's create a new C# project. First, we open Visual Studio, then we create a new project. The project is the console application, and then we name our project and then we run it. I'll show you in my Visual Studio. We're gonna create a new project, so we need to click here, create a new project. Here we have different options to choose, but we're gonna make a console application. So we search console to the top, and then we chose console application for .NET Framework, and then click next. The console application is a very simple application that doesn't have any graphical interface, so it's a good option to start with. Then we need to name our project. You can choose something like My First C# App or Hello World, which is a common tradition name when we're learning a new language. And you can specify the location where you're going to create your project, and then we click Create. Now Visual Studio will generate a basic C# program for us. Alright, let's see what's happening here. Some developers get a little bit intimidated when the first time they open Visual Studio, and that's fair enough because there are so many menus and panels here and it's a bit confusing. But let me tell you something. 90% of the time you're going to use only 10% of these or even less. So So don't worry about all these menus here. You don't need to use all of them at all times. Now let's take a look at this first program. On the right side, you see the Solution Explorer panel. In case if you don't see that, go to the View and select Solution Explorer here. So you see we have a solution which has only one project called My First C# Application. And here you can see Program CS, which is where we're going to start writing code. The main method is the entry point to the application. So let's go here. We have a class called console, which is used to read data from console or write data to it. Console class has a bunch of methods, and we can access those methods by using the dot notation. These are all the methods of console class. We're gonna use WriteLine. I start to write and I choose WriteLine. WriteLine method can optionally take a parameter. So I'm going to pass a string here, like hello world. Statements in C# terminate with a semicolon, as you can see here. Now let's run the application with this button. You see here, this black window is what we call console, and that's why this kind of project is called console application. And you can see the hello world that we wrote in our code, it's printed here. Now let's back to the code. So I want to explain more about this code that you can see here. Using system, it gives us access to some basic C# functions. The class program defines a class named program and the static void main. This is the entry point of the program where execution starts. And the console.WriteLine hello world, it prints the text to the console. And if you run it again, you will see the result here again. Congratulations! You just wrote and executed your first C# program. Now that we have our development environment set up and our first program running, we are ready to start learning the core concepts of C#, variables and data types. See you in the next lesson. Thanks for watching.